All right. Welcome to the Oakland Fire Department Vegetation Management Unit, Wildfire Prevention Town Hall presentation. All respect to our Chief, Dr. Reginald Freeman, and Fire Marshal Felicia Wanzel Bryant. This is a message from them, and I am Fire Inspector Supervisor Adam Ball for the Vegetation Management Units. Today I'm going to talk about some what we need to do and how to deal with stuff if we have issues on properties, and hopefully this is a helpful presentation. The number one item that we talk about every year is our defensible space. Defensible space around a property or around a structure. We're focusing mostly on the structure. It'd be 30 feet on a flat land and 100 feet on bigger lands. We'll talk more about 100 feet later. Just a message, it's usually defensible space. We're talking about removing ground fuels, such as grass, small shrubs, dead leaves, dead branches, and it's not required for you to maintain anything outside of your property line. Sorry about that. Next, seems like a minor item, but it's a big item every year, is make sure your street address numbers are visible from the street. This is going to be highly scrutinized by our firefighters, as they rely on this for response during any type of emergency, not just a fire. We also want to talk about keeping a 10-foot minimum roadside clearance. This is driveways and any road. This could also mean a fire road if you have one of those coming across your property. Which same thing as the defensible space. We want to keep the overgrown vegetation at least 10 feet from the roadside, and then anything above the roadside would be 13 feet and 6 inches. They used to round it up to just 15, but that's the technical, is 13 feet 6 inches. That's for responding vehicles. Sorry about that. And I know there's always a lot of questions about roadsides. Just a quick note here: the California Streets and Highway Code does note that the roadsides are the responsibility of the adjacent parcel owner, which is why the city, we do roadside clearances where only there's city properties alongside. So you may be responsible for clearing the roadside. We want to keep trees away from the roof line. The code technically says 10 feet from the structure, but in one thing in Oakland, if we adhered by that 100%, we wouldn't have any trees in the hills. And I know people like trees. Just try to keep them away from over fences. Over roofs and porches, as we see in the pictures here, as best as possible. And this, we're talking about items that would be 5 inches diameter or less, not necessarily large trunks. Deadwood and litter. This is a common thing with, you see here in the pictures, eucalyptus. Just try to remove that as often as possible. You may be cited for it in your inspection. If you are, just clear it as much as you can. And piles of dead wood around also should be removed from the trees, or if you have like a hanging sticks or whatnot. But just because it doesn't have leaves on it doesn't mean it's dead. So you might want to verify that with an arborist. One thing we do look at, no, it is not vegetation, but we are out there doing inspections, and this can help assist a fire spread, start, etc., or hide fire. Is making sure that combustible or flammable waste or rubbish is not hanging out outside of people's properties. As we can see in the pictures here, there's all types of stuff that we come across. Please just maintain that. It's not a storage area as much as some people would like to think so. And we may open also a building department complaint if we see items like this, as for a blight complaint, just depending on how difficult they are to clear. Cut vegetation and refuse. This is the mulch or once you cut the grass, try to remove it. It shouldn't be any deeper than 3 inches if it's cut grass, and no deeper than 12 inches if it's mulch. You want to keep any hazardous vegetation within 10 feet from a combustible fence should be trimmed away, cut down. As I kind of mentioned, fences, tree over fence earlier. We see in the picture here, a lot of stuff there should be removed. And don't store firewood against the fences either, if they're wood. And this is where we'll talk about the additional defensible space. This is the increase of 100 feet. If you look here, even a slight slope, the code currently it's 30 or 100. So if you have any type of slope on your property, it's 100, obviously within your property lines. Ornamental vegetation is great. It's wonderful. Just need to keep it up. Make sure it's pruned. And much like trees, you don't really want it growing on the roof. So please trim them back and keep them maintained. These are just more examples of such. And ivy is a controversial topic of types. Just keep it maintained. If it's ornamental, it's wonderful. If you get cited for it and you feel like you shouldn't be, please, that would be an item where you would contact our office to discuss the matter, to make sure that you don't continue to get cited for something. But if it is excessively browned out or dead or excessively thick, you may get cited and asked to trim it back. And it could also be trimmed back from the trees or climbing up a structure, depending on the situations. And that is the end for the codes. There's other codes, but those are the main ones. And you can check out our website to find out what all the codes are. So now we want to talk about the inspection process. Who inspects in Oakland? Lots of people. We have currently this year is going to be 23,640 initial inspections, which we begin June 12th. And firefighters, they're the ones that come in the red trucks, engines, or patrol vehicles. They have usually a blue uniform or a blue t-shirt and badges and radios and tablets for their inspections. They do a majority of these inspections with a little bit over 20,000. Then our fire inspectors, we have little white cars or trucks. They may be red also, but most of ours are white or blue uniform shirts, badges, radios, tablets, or phones for inspections. And then our chiefs come out to verify that the work we're doing is correct. So if you get inspected twice, please don't be confused by that matter. The reason this is brought up is we've had some issues in the past where people are concerned that the person on their property is not an inspector. Please believe us. If it's an Oakland fire person, it is. If you do need verification, you can contact our office. Please don't stop them from conducting the inspection, especially if you see them with a tablet taking pictures. Who gets inspected? Every parcel, every private and public parcel. Not our addresses that are in the very high fire zone. A lot of times people will have a house that may sit on 1 or 2 parcels and have an additional one there, and they're confused why they get 3 different inspections. It's because we have to go by the parcel per the county assessor. What are we inspecting? Going back to the beginning, the defensible space area for overgrowth vegetation around homes, structures, and roadsides. We will always inspect from May to November or until the fire season is called. And what we inspect is the overgrown vegetation during the fire season. Some people like to call. I know that we do post a thing with your address or with your date of a possible inspection. Please don't always try to hold us to it or wait around for us on that, as most of our inspections are performed by firefighters in the field, responding 911 calls also. The date that is on the ACA website, which will be brought up later, is there just kind of letting you know we will not be before then, but we'll try to make those dates. Not always possible, but just remember May through November. Why is obvious: to keep wildfires from spreading throughout designated hazard area known as the wildland urban interface. And fire can spread fast. This is just touching on municipal code, adopts the fire area every year based on the state's recommendation. The changes, they can change, but the city has designated areas where the municipal code states where the fire zone is, which may differ slightly from the state. So some people will say, hey, I'm not in here. Why am I getting an inspection? If you are in the area defined by the municipal code, you will be getting an inspection. Sorry about that. So if you were marked compliant, you'll get a nice little door hanger. Everyone is being required to make sure that we have door hangers on their doors this year. If you have a house, if you have a parcel and there's no structure there, you will not get a door hanger, or you'll only get a letter in the mail. So it's very important that you check the ACA to make sure when that inspection occurred. This is just another picture of the door hanger. It should say compliant. You can go to the ACA, look up your inspection, and this is just the beginning of it. Status, yes. People can get confused. I'm not a fan of this either. That just means that we had access. The compliance will show usually at the top and then the last page. And it's usually a couple pages, even for a compliant inspection. You will also get a letter in the mail a few days later. Just a word to the wise, compliance letters are mailed with very little priority compared to non-compliance letters. So just because you got a compliant, if it hasn't arrived in a week or two, that's because we're backed up sending out non-compliant letters. If you're marked compliant, thank you. You've done a good job. If you're marked non-compliant, the second box on the door hanger will be marked and hopefully left on the door handle. Check your door hanger. There's a lot of information on here. People call us and say, I don't know what's wrong, et cetera, et cetera. If you literally follow what the door hanger says, it tells you where to look for that. If you have issues with getting on the website to look for that, it tells you where to do that. It's okay for you to call our office if you really, really need to, but the volume of calls and emails we have, we may not be able to address you in the time which you need. So it is advised, this is our 6th year with this resource, please utilize it. You will find it to be very helpful, especially if you're not certain what needs to be fixed on your property. Same thing, this is what you'll see online. It'll say status non-compliant. This is on page 2, if you notice on the first one. It'll still say yes on that top page. So make sure you see that the code was violated and then the status, if you get especially multiple big page inspections. And you will get a letter that's a little bit longer because it's going to have the entire code for what needs to be completed. Here is the ACA's main website page. It says Online Permit Center. I easily come to this by Googling City of Oakland ACA. Brings me right here. Once you're here, you want to hit the search button and come down, scroll down to fire. And this is where you'd enter your address to see when the inspection is. Let's go back to here. On the very far right is where you'd register and log in. And here, if you are registered and log in, once you put your address in, you can get a lot more information. If you're not registered, it will just tell you when that inspection occurred or when it's going to occur. You have to click on the FDV number. For this year, be FDV 23. And you can find out more information. What do you do after your property was marked non-compliant? You look it up in the SELA Citizen Access website. That's where you're going to get all the most information. And then you correct the items. You would send photographed corrections by email or mail to us 45 days from its first inspection. Please don't ignore these. Please don't wait for us to return. Please don't wait for Oakland Fire Department to clarify what needs to be completed. Please don't call us and complain about our process because you don't feel the 45 days is fair. It used to be 30 days. Most people seem to feel that the 45 days works great. If there are issues, you want to probably touch base with your area inspector and make sure that everyone's on the same page and just communicate some issues if they're going on. You can always do your best, submit your photos, even if it's not fully what you need. At least we know you're trying. But getting that 45 days in is great, because if we do the lower half of the screen, that's when the fees start occurring, because we did not get the proof of abatement after 45 days. Again, correct the issues. This kind of just repeats on there. You can also upload your proof of corrections to the ACA. And if you do that, some people choose to do that. It's actually easier for you if you have the account. That is wonderful. However, you must make contact with us at the Fire Prevention Bureau. Preferred method would be an email. Just shoot us an email with your address, the FDV number, and tell us, hey, I uploaded my corrections there. Please check them out, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Any on-site visits that's in person, an inspector coming to your property, because we didn't get that, they will generate a fee. If you don't get us the proof, again, we'll have to come out, we'll have to follow up, and the city will send you a bill for each time that we show up afterwards. We will not show up more than 2 non-compliant inspections after. There are no fees associated with no accesses, but eventually the no accesses, we become very diligent in getting those completed. So if you do keep getting no access letters, please contact us at least after the 2nd time, so that we can schedule a time with an inspector to come out. What about these no accesses? On the new door hangers, this is an old 2022 one. It is marked no access. It did say call us immediately. That has been changed to check the ACA website. No access first time for the firefighters. They come back a 2nd time 2 weeks later, and then it gets kicked over to Fire Prevention Bureau after that. Again, check the ACA. This is going to be the most reliable for timing. It'll tell you what's going on. You can always contact us for no access issues. The letter looks very simple and very similar to the other ones. It has no codes though, and it does not say congratulations. So if you get one of these no accesses, please work with us so we get some inspections completed. We will do everything in our power to try and not get a no access, including potentially, different angles for photos, peeking over neighbors' fences, etc. We'll try our best without being weird. But we also want to respect your privacy too. And therefore we should be knocking or ringing doorbells while we're on your property. Again, the firefighters will tap 2 times, check with us afterwards. Sometimes we know people work, you can't stay home, you're not around. We will get it figured out. We usually hit 100% of our inspections every year. So why did you get a bill? This is our most common end of season phone call. And that's because we did not get the proof of abatement within 45 days. However, I do got to be honest, there's only 5 inspectors during the season. At the most part, they're the people that you are taking care of your corrections when you send them, and they still have to go out in the field, and they still have to respond to voicemails and emails. We will miss some. So if you do feel you were missed and you did send us proof of abatement, it takes an easy phone call or email. Usually we just need that reshoot of the email. You can just forward it back to us and we'll correct it for you. Otherwise, if that didn't happen, you have a bill. If you have questions about billing, please do not contact Vegetation Management. Billing is done outside of this department. Oakland Fire does not bill for anything, the city does. The questions about those bills will go to this email. They do not have a phone number, fpbbilling@oaklandca.gov. Fire Prevention Bureau cannot eliminate your fees. There are certain situations where maybe something was done incorrectly, and we may put in a request to remove your fees, but we cannot remove your fees. Please contact the billing department. This is what the bill looks like. It says invoice at the top. It usually says like did one inspection because the first inspections are free, so there's a zero balance. Here's a second one, and there's a fee on that one. Please do not ignore them. You may appeal them. If you feel that the inspection was conducted in error, you cannot appeal a fee. The fees are set by the city council. That's why you wouldn't appeal the inspection that would generate the fee, and it may be able to help if there was some miscommunication or error. Yeah, don't delay paying the bill. There are late fees that accrue really fast. 2 inspections failed as examples. I think they're going to be $463 this year, and then there's a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day late fee charge. So that would be on both fees if we didn't pay those. Plus, there would be a collections fee by the time it gets to collections. It can add up really quick, so please don't delay. You can pay online with a credit card at the ACA website. You can pay by mail, by check, which is on the all this information is on the bill. The address there, it's not our office, it's 150 Frankogawa, and I don't know their suite, unfortunately, but you can look on the bill. And you can make appointments online at this website here if you do want to pay in person. But I don't know the benefit to that, but you can pay in person. We do not take cash in person, only credit card or a check. You can appeal an inspection if you feel it was conducted in error. I touched on this earlier a little bit. Don't appeal the inspections because you're upset about the fees. Please just abate the issue and send us proof of correction. An appeal does not guarantee a fee waiver. Again, I think this is in here a lot as people ignoring, because we actually do hear this a lot. Please don't ignore items that come from your local, state, or federal government that come in the mail. That is how governments communicate with you if there's an issue. Please don't do not delay opening them. If you have questions during the wildfire season, that is where our Vegetation Management Unit phone number comes in. If you don't know it by heart like me, it's 510-238-7388. We request you to call that line unless you know your district inspector and you can deal with the item with them directly. Otherwise, the inspectors and myself, we do go through the phone daily and we distribute it to the district inspector. So you can do that also, and that is fine. Leave a clear message, one clear message with an address, a reference number, which is the FDV number, your name, and a phone number to return a call. No other information is needed. Please don't leave us stories. That only delays us listening to your neighbors' voicemails that we also need to help. Please don't leave more than one message per item. That will actually delay us getting your response. Please don't leave multiple phone numbers, just one that we can call you at and you're going to pick up. And please do not leave anonymous complaints. You can create complaints through Oakland 311, which is where we're trying to direct all of complaints now, because they do generate a reference number and it's trackable, unlike you calling the vegetation line that does not generate a reference number. You also can email us at wildfireprevention@oaklandca.gov. Feel free to add a little bit more information in an email, like photos, same things. Please don't send us multiple emails about the same thing. Please don't send us an email if you've left a voicemail or vice versa. We will get back to you. There's 5 of us that answer these calls and we're in the field most of the time. It may take us a few days, but we will get back to you. Promise. Questions. This kind of just details what we're doing. We're in the office from 8 to 4 most days, but the inspectors are actually only instructed to be in the office for an hour in the morning and an hour at the end of the afternoon. Calling outside those hours, you're really just getting a voicemail, which in the long run, it's a lot easier to call us directly and hopefully someone picks up. I think this year it may only be myself that is picking up during the day outside of the inspectors being in here. So bear with me. We'll try to answer as much as I can and not have stuff go to voicemail, but we do other things and don't just sit around waiting for phones, but we will help you as quick as we can. Only the inspectors can accept corrections and make updates to inspections. So that's also, if you're sending corrections, please do not expect a 24 or 48-hour response to getting that input in the system. So the sooner the better. We'll get to it as soon as we can. If there is crossover and it's our mistake and you get a bill because of it, then we can get that bill removed based on our mistake, but we have to prove that it was our mistake. So bear with us. Complaints, where to send complaints about other people's vegetation. Early in the year, please let us do our process. Every parcel gets 45 days after the initial inspection if they're found non-compliant, which if I were to do the math on that, that means we will be done with most of our initial inspections by early August. That may be the time to really complain, because that means nothing has really been done. Prior to us inspecting, we cannot inspect because everybody has to be given that amount of time. So any complaints from here until June 12th are not going to be looked at for this year, unless it's a really, really crazy one, in which case we will be forwarding that to the building department's code enforcement so that they can handle that matter, not a vegetation inspection. We will be out to every property. If you do feel middle of the season that maybe a property has been overlooked, feel free to contact this then. But the best way to submit complaints is Oak 311. You just dial 311 or 615-5566. It's the same. The number gets you to the same place. I suggest going to the actual website because you get the reference number immediately and the complaints are documented, tracked, and routed to our unit. Thank you. This just talks about the time that all City of Oakland lot owners, public or private, are given the same amount of time to be inspected and abated as necessary. We will not perform pre-season complaint inspections. These will be forwarded to Building and Planning's code enforcement as a blight complaint. You can streamline the process and contact that department directly. Here's their information. They are at 238-3381, and that website is very long, so I'm not going to recite it, but you can easily Google City of Oakland code enforcement and it'll bring you to this information. Other city services, as I said before, Oak 311 for complaints on public and private land. Complaints about private properties with blight, overgrown vegetation in the off season is for code enforcement. Parking complaints and enforcement. I know people sometimes think we have authority on that. We do not. You can, again, follow their website or call them at 238-3099. If it's a standing tree complaint, that's always a misconception. We do not have anything to do with a standing tree except trimming it back from a roof line or off the ground 6 feet or so more, maybe if it's at the roadside. Please contact Oak 311 at 311. If you are in imminent danger, please call 911 or Oakland Fire Dispatch at 444-1616. Roadsides, broken sidewalks, tree issues at roadside in front of your property, it would actually be your responsibility if it's completely adjacent to your parcel, unless there is another parcel that blocks you from that. So that may be your issue. Not Oakland things, just run through this real quick. PG&E is the numbers on here. You can find this Caltrans information. I hope that you can use this as a resource later down the road if needed. East Bay Mud, that's their best phone number. East Bay Regional Park District, which are all the non-city parks. They have that fun phone number right there. UC Berkeley Property Management, which if you're on the west side of the city in the north, you may have to deal with. That's their contact. Here's a couple more surrounding fire departments and fire prevention staff. Again, you can get a hold of us at 238-7388 or wildfire prevention at oaklandca.gov. This is our website. I am hoping to have this website 100% done by the time we start inspecting. I am currently updating that right now, amongst other things. So sorry if not all the information is up as I speak. And then if we were in person, this is the time I'd ask for questions. This is thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. That's been great. Appreciate it. This is Doug from the Oakland Fire Safe Council. I do have a couple questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first one is there anything that has changed from last year in terms of the vegetation inspections around the house and property?
I'm going to go on video here. That's fine. It's not going to be super long. Is there anything that's changed? No, not really. I know we were talking about the zone 0. That was a big state thing. They made a push for that. Zone 0 would have been 0 to 5 feet of defensible space. That has been not defined, and therefore we're not enforcing it at this point. So it's just the regular 30 to 100 feet. On our list, there is a spark arrestor thing, which goes in and out of being enforced on the code. We did have to put that in there based on the fire marshal's requirement. But we're training the people. Really, we need to know for sure that it doesn't have anything. So hopefully there's not too many snafus with that. Most people I know do have them. For the actual code, there's really no real change that I can think of off the top of my head. The process, there is the big difference in there is everybody, based on past year's complaints, everybody actually does need to leave a door hanger. So for some reason, if you aren't getting door hangers, that is one of the things you would call us directly at our office for, so that we can make the battalion chiefs aware that that is not occurring, because the door hangers are very important with giving you the information. And off the top of my head, Doug, I can't think of anything else that's really changed. We have 5 new inspectors. They're really good. They do have wildfire experience, but we had a rotation of a lot of the similar people for the last 5 years. So we do have a bunch of fresh faces out there. So hopefully you can welcome them.
Great. And the other question, this came up last year, and it caused some concern, is the vegetation that may be growing on top or alongside a wooden fence. And I think the way it was explained last year is that as long as it's maintained and green and not woody and dead, it is okay to have vegetation on a wooden or alongside a wooden fence. Is that still the case?
So the code says hazardous vegetation would be removed. So that would be the overgrown or dead or dying vegetation. So yeah, if you have something maintained, that would be probably one of those, hey, somebody interpreted this, they want a clear-cut fence. You could contact our unit, the Fire Prevention Bureau's Vegetation Management Unit. We'll review it at that point. I mean, that's a great question. Thank you, because that definitely goes along. And we get the same thing with IV. You know, sometimes IV gets misinterpreted. It's kind of a hard code to be serious. You know, you want to make sure, we want to look at it and make sure it's green and happy and not going to spread a fire, basically.
Okay, super. Yeah, that's all I had. If there's nothing else, that's, again, appreciate you giving us this information and this video recording, and great work.
Thank you very much.